Hello, BookTube. This is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book with a Friday Reads update. This should be a fairly short one because I've only finished one book this week and I'm in the middle of two, so I will talk about those a little bit. I've also had one book come through the door, and that is Ruth Rendell's, what's it called? A New Lease of Death. That's quite a good title. Um, I love this cover as well. It's so sort of 90s paperback. This is the second in the Inspector Wexford series that I started. Well, I read the first one last week, so I'm going to save this for March Mystery Madness. What and during March Mystery Madness, I'm going to try and read as many mystery books as humanly possible. Um, the one book I finished this week, it is an ongoing my ongoing obsession with the Mitford sisters has continued into this week. So I read The Pursuit of Love by Nancy Mitford, which is a fictional story of, or fictional version of the Mitford sisters' upbringing. So I really wanted to read the real story as well, and I got Jessica Mitford. So Jessica's the communist one of the Mitford sisters. There's a fascist, communist, a Nazi, a duchess, and a chicken farmer. And this is the communist one. Jessica was the second youngest, so the they're roughly split into three older ones and three younger ones. So Jessica was one of the three younger ones, and that was, this is really this is a struggle now. I'm trying to remember their names. But it was Jessica, the Duchess was the youngest one, and Jessica's the communist, and then the third youngest one is the Nazi. So she was very close to the Nazi one, and obviously they grew up with incredibly differently political views. Uh, and this starts from childhood, and I knew it would be interesting and funny because Nancy Mitford's version of it is so funny, and Nancy is hilarious in this book. She's sort of very witty older sister, and yeah, I loved this book. It was utterly sort of hilarious and charming. The upbringing is just as eccentric and bizarre as in the fictional version, in that they were very isolated in the countryside, and their father and mother were very strange. Their father was a bit of a maniac, and has like a spade that he's in their in their living room or somewhere, that he smashed loads of Germans on the head within World War One. He's that sort of character, and he distrusts all foreigners. Um, yeah, so I really loved the childhood bit, and I was expecting that, but it goes into her sort of young adulthood as well, and she runs away with her second cousin, who she marries, and he's sort of a socialist, at least, maybe a communist, and they run away to first France and then the Spanish Civil War. So that's really interesting. And then they later go to America and sort of travel around America very poor, like living sort of paycheck to paycheck, which is very strange because she's from an aristocratic family. Her father, that they are called Ons partially because if you're a lord in the House of Lords, you're the honourable. So it's partially from that. and the rebels in the title is her and her cousin. Basically, they've rebelled against the family and gone away. So it was actually quite a touching portrait of her relationship with her cousin as well, which was very strange in that she sort of fell in love with him before she'd even met him, and then when they did meet, they instantly clicked and ran away together. But it's also slightly heartbreaking in that her sister that she got along best with was the Nazi one. So they sort of lost contact, and when her sister went off to Germany and stuff, so that's quite heartbreaking as well. But the the Mitfords just seem to have a very witty and readable writing style as well. So super interesting biography, one of my favourite biographies ever already, and or autobiography. Uh, just a bizarre family that are sort of one of a kind. So it's very interesting. Yeah, that was really good. The other books I'm reading is the first one is uh, Collected Works by Lydia Sandgren, and I saw this on the Book Maniacs channel. He I think he had it as his favourite book last year, and also on the Evening Readers channel, who also really enjoyed it. I'm about halfway through. This is my audio, my ebook. Sorry, is like 850 pages long. It's really long, and I think hardback is about that as well. I'm struggling with it a little bit. I'm definitely not enjoying it as much as everyone else seemed to because it's so slow moving. And it may pick up on the second half, and it may all come together. But the basic plot is it's a it's about a man, a Swedish man. This is a Swedish book in translation, and his wife, who is a German translator and a writer of sorts. It's about his best friend as well, who's a famous artist, and it's about his children. So the perspective jumps a bit, but so far it's jumped between him and his daughter, and it also jumps from current time where his wife has disappeared, and it goes all the way back to his school years. And so the first half of the book has basically been him meeting his school friend who becomes this famous artist, him going to university, and eventually meeting his wife. It takes 250 pages before he meets his wife. So it's a bit. I think it could have done with a bit of editing so far, because I don't mind slow character building books, but it's because it's covering his young adulthood and teenage years, and he's like a philosophy student. It's just him being pretentious and getting too drunk at parties and stuff over and over again, and that's a bit tiresome. He's definitely meant to be perceived as pretentious, because even in in his internal monologue, he sort of admits that he doesn't know what he's talking about half the time, and he's just stealing stuff from other people, what they've said. But it's quite hard to spend so much time with someone who's a bit annoying, and I'm not sure I even like him as an adult either. So that's one problem. I don't really like him that much. I'm much more interested in his wife and his daughter, and his best friend, and you don't get as much of their perspectives. You jump into the daughter's head fairly seldom, but it's definitely giving me vibes of Donatar, which is what the Evening Reader compared it to, and I also get vibes of A Little Life by Hannah Yanagihara. It's that the friendship between him and his best friend feels very much like that, and the actual writing does as well. So if you like those books, this might be one for you. I just need to see how it goes in the second half. The mystery is slowly coming out now, and part of what is keeping me interested is the wife is missing, but no one seems to believe she's dead. But nothing has been revealed about why she's gone missing or how she's gone missing. And I'm like 400 pages in, so we're just getting more and more of the wife's backstory now. So maybe the second half will rescue it for me. The writing itself is very interesting. It just feels so far that it could have done with some editing. And the second book I'm reading, I say reading, but very out of character for me. I'm actually listening to an audiobook, and I think I've only ever completed one audiobook before because I just can't concentrate on them very well. And the first audiobook I ever completed was I, Partridge by Alan Partridge, who is a character played by Steve Coogan on TV. I don't know how international Alan Partridge is because the jokes feel very British, but he's a comedy character, a sort of jokey character of a ridiculous TV presenter. And the book I'm reading now is Big Beacon by Alan Partridge. So I find this audio easier to listen to because it's from a character, and a character I know from TV. So I think reading it, he's got a very distinctive voice as well. I think reading it would be weird because I would just be reading in Alan Partridge's voice. And this is the story of him. It's the dialogue, the story, like collected works, is split into two time frames. One after he's just lost his job with the BBC TV presenting, which is the current time of Alan Partridge, and one is like before he gets the TV job. So it's like he's come back, and in the modern one he's restored a lighthouse that he's living in, and I don't even know if I would recommend Alan Partridge to anyone who. I wouldn't recommend this book to anyone who's not already familiar with Alan Partridge, but I think Alan Partridge is the greatest comedy show that England has ever produced. I think he's a genius, and he's been doing the same character now for like 25 years or something. So we're very familiar with his career and his sort of ridiculous life. So I'm very much enjoying it, and what I'm really enjoying is a thing that I knew about, but I never thought about that much. In that you can listen to the audiobook all the time. So I'm listening to it when I walk to and from the train station, or when I go out for breaks and stuff at work. So I'm fitting it into times when I never would have had for reading before. So I might try another audiobook after, because it is really increasing my time spent with books, although in a different format. So that's been really good. So I'm flying through that. So I will do full reviews of Big Beacon and collected works next week, probably, when I finish them. I'm curious, BookTube, if you know about Alan Partridge. I'm sure the UK BookTube people will do, but I don't know if is he international? Do his jokes transfer? Have you read collected works? I've only heard absolutely incredibly positive things about it so far, so I'm hoping the second half blows me away. But what did you think of it if you've read it? And I've already asked this last week, but have you ever read any Mitford books? Have a good one, BookTube. Bye bye.